All right, diving right into the NCAA tournament, and man, the energy is electric in the first round, especially in the East region. We've got a matchup here, the Noble 8 Mississippi State Bulldogs going head-to-head with the Noble 9 Baylor Bears, and you just know the stakes are through the roof.
Couldn't agree more. The tension is palpable, and we've got a fantastic set of sources to break this down. Bleacher Nation, CBS Sports, Covers, USA Today. You really came prepared.
That's what we're here for, deep dive, right? So our mission today, we got to figure out, using all this great info, what's the story with the total points in this Mississippi State-Baylor clash? Will it go over or under?
Over, under, that's the big question. And to set the scene, tip-off is Friday, March 21st, 2025, 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time, live on CBS from the Lenovo Center in Raleigh, North Carolina.
The heart of college basketball action. And get this, the odds makers have Mississippi State favored by a mere 1.5 points. That's tight. The over-under for total points sits at 144.5.
Yeah, that spread, it's basically saying good luck figuring this one out. But let's look at the teams' journeys. Mississippi State, 21-12 overall, finished 10th in the SEC, a tough conference to grab that 8 seed.
And Baylor, they're sitting at 19 or 14, finished 7th in the Big 12. Not a cakewalk either to snag the 9 seed. But, they've hit a rough patch lately, going 3-4 in their last 7.
True, but those losses, they were close, decided by a total of like 10 points. Still fighting. Plus, Baylor's been to the big dance 6 times in a row. Experience counts.
It does, especially under pressure. But we got to analyze the numbers, see if they hint at a high-scoring shootout. So Mississippi State, their Ken Pom efficiency rankings, a pretty reliable metric, have them with the 23rd best offense in the nation.
Not bad at all. And 47th best defense nationally, so a bit of a gap there. Offensively, they're averaging 79.8 points a game, good for 43rd in the country. They give up 74.2 points, which is, well, 248th. Overall, their scoring differential is plus 185. They tend to outscore opponents.
They do, and on the boards, they're beasts, averaging 35.5 rebounds a game, top 25 in the country. That's 2.7 more rebounds than their opponents each game. From three-point land, though, it's interesting. They make 8.4 threes per game. Not terrible, but their accuracy is 31.4%. Opponents hit 36.1% against them.
Huh. That 3-point discrepancy could be a factor, but let's stick with overall scoring for now. Mississippi State plays at a pace that generates 99.5 points scored per 100 possessions, allows 92.5. Look at their actual game totals this season. They average a combined 153.9 points per game.
Whoa, that's like 9.4 points above the over-under of 144.5. I mean, that's a pretty significant difference. You got to factor that in. Okay, now what about Baylor? Do their numbers back this up?
Well, they're ranked 29th overall in KenPom efficiency. Offense is their strength, 16th in the nation, and their defense ranks 58th. What's interesting is their average points per game this season, it's actually 1.1 points higher than that 144.5 over-under mark.
So both teams, looking at their season averages, are suggesting this game might just creep over the total. Interesting.
It is, but I think it's worth noting, Baylor's against the spread record this season, it's 14-17-1 overall. ATS, for those unfamiliar, basically shows how often a team beats the point spread. Not directly about over-under, but some context. But let's focus back on the total. When you combine the average points scored by both teams this season, it comes out to 156.3.
Wow, so that's a full 11.8 points above the 144.5 over-under. Their opponents, when combined, average 143.4, so just slightly under. Looks like offense is a key factor here. Who are the players we should watch for on these high-scoring teams?
For Mississippi State, guard Josh Hubbard is the man. He's averaging 18.6 points a game with 2.2 assists. They also have Keyshawn Murphy. He's their leading rebounder, grabs 7.5 a game, and he dishes out 3.6 assists, their primary playmaker.
Hubbard is definitely the engine of their offense. He takes about 3.2 three-point shots a game, hit 1.2. Defensively, they have Cameron Matthews with 2.5 steals per game, and Murphy chips at 1.2. Baylor's going to have their hands full trying to contain these guys.
No doubt. Now for Baylor, forward Northad Omai, he's a double-double machine. Leads the team in scoring and rebounding, averaging 15.9 points and 10.9 rebounds per game. Then there's guard Robert O. Wright III, their assist leader, 4.3 a game, and he contributes 11.3 points and 2.1 steals as well.
Wright is the guy who makes things happen for Baylor, a real floor general. And we can't forget Jacoby Walter, their sharpshooter, averaging 1.9 three-pointers a game.
Absolutely. Defensively, VJ Edgecombe leads them in steals with 2.1 per game, and Omeyer is their main rim protector, averaging 1.0 block. These guys are key for Baylor to generate points and disrupt Mississippi State's offense.
Now let's turn to the experts, see what they're predicting. Bleacher Nation is calling a tight Baylor victory, 76-74. Interestingly, their betting advice is leaning towards a higher scoring game. They're picking Baylor to cover that plus 1.5 spread in the game to go over the 144.5 total.
Interesting. USA Today's expert picks are a bit mixed on who's going to win. Several favor Baylor, a couple are going with Mississippi State. But focusing on the total points, Sam Esclar predicts a 77-73 win for Mississippi State and specifically says it'll go over.
Aligns with the trends we've seen.
Right. But then Craig Meyer predicts a nail-biter 71-70 Baylor, but he says it'll stay under. So there's definitely a split among the experts on the final score and the total points.
Definitely some contrasting opinions. Covers.com picks up another interesting point, though. Baylor's got a lot more postseason experience under their coach, Scott Drew. They emphasize how Drew's leadership has instilled a real understanding of what it takes to win in March Madness.
Mississippi State's coach, Chris Jans, actually acknowledged their lack of NCAA tournament experience. That intangible factor could play a role, especially in those tight moments late in the game. Might not directly relate to the over-under, but it's worth noting.
Absolutely. But when we're specifically looking at that over-under, the statistical data we've talked about, the season scoring averages, the combined points being well above 144.5, it does paint a picture of a potentially high-scoring game.
It really does. It's a close call, a true toss-up. But Mississippi State's games have consistently been higher scoring, and Baylor's trend in that direction, too. The offensive firepower is there for both teams.
So thinking about all this, the statistical lean towards a high score, the unpredictability of a winner-go-home tournament game, what do you think would be the deciding factor in whether this matchup goes over or under that 144.5 mark?
You know, it's a tough one. Will Mississippi State just keep the pedal down and push the pace? Or will Baylor's experience and composure allow them to dictate a slower, more controlled tempo? This is going to be a fascinating game to watch unfold, that's for sure.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This is what March Madness is all about. Buckle up, folks.